Well, today we decided to take a road trip to Kingfisher, Oklahoma, and we're at the home of Brian and Trish Walker, and they've done some absolutely amazing things with their yard. Brian and Trish, thanks for inviting us over today.
Thank you for
Thanks
coming,
for coming.
Brenda.
Now, how long have you been working on your yard here?
Approximately 5 years.
So it's not been here just a really long time, has it?
No, it hasn't. When we bought the house, we mainly focused on the interior first. And then after a while, I decided I'd better do something with the outside.
So, well, it just looks beautiful, and I think what we'll do is just let you take us on a tour of your yard, because you have done some amazing transformations here.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
well, now, first off, we're here in the front yard, and this is a really neat pathway. How did you make this pathway here?
Well, actually, I went and got some concrete and busted it up that were along a creek bank that I found. And I'd read about doing this in a landscaping magazine, and I just busted them up into pieces and basically used them like flagstone. And I put them all in dry, and then I put the Quickcrete and broomed it in the cracks, and then I watered it in with water, and it's been there ever since. That was one of the very first things I did here, actually.
Well, this looks nice, and then you kind of created beds around the front of this. And I like this sycamore tree. Now, this is one of the only trees that was here when you moved in, isn't it?
Yes, it was the only other one other than the mimosa that's in the backyard.
And you put in a little island here. This is really pretty, and the plantings here are pretty simple.
Yeah, I didn't really want a whole lot of color there. I think you need color in a lot of places, but there's certain times where really just green is nice. It's kind of serene.
Right, green is a real restful color. That's a nice
I think so.
meditation spot. Now we're basically coming around the side here, and this is a nice combination. You've got your purple coneflower, and what grass is this?
That's maiden grass. I think it's Miscanthus gracilis, and I'm a real grass addict. You can probably tell when we walk through here. I really love them, and this is something that I tried just this year because I wanted to soften this curve up. And I think the maiden grass and the purple coneflowers are just one of the most perfect combinations there is.
It is a beautiful combination. It also is a good, almost like you've made a screen here.
Yes, didn't plan that, but I've come to learn that with the grasses on the other side and the wind comes predominantly out of the south and the west, it really keeps these from all blowing over, because that's one of the problems I've had with purple coneflowers is when they get a lot of rain and wind, then they'll fall over unless you stake them, and I haven't really had to stake them too much.
Oh, but it looks nice. Oh, wow, this is beautiful. Now, this is the side yard of the house here, isn't it, Brian?
Right, this is the west side. Basically what I've tried to do with the side and the backyards is create rooms. And I don't really have any real names for them. I refer to this one as the Wild Wild West room. What I've tried to do here is make a real natural setting. You can tell I have some lower plants behind taller plants, which normally you wouldn't do in a border. And I just want to try to make it look as natural as I could. Kind of almost a prairie look.
This is nice. And you know, with some of that space between your plants and your fence, it actually makes this area look bigger than it really is. I like the way that you've done that. So now your path here is nice. You just put in some flagstone and then filled in with kind of like a little river rock here.
Right, river rock. When we bought the house, this was all grass. And one of my goals all along while working is to get rid of as much grass as I can. It takes a lot of water. I probably water this garden here maybe 2 or 3 times in the summer.
That's it.
I'll put a sprinkler back here and I'll just let it cover the whole area. And it's done well. I mean, I don't have much trouble as far as drought tolerance. Most of these plants are drought tolerant.
Yeah, just kind of glancing through here, I see ornamental grasses, some purple coneflower. You got the liatris, and there really are. They're low water use plants that you've got scattered throughout here. And you know, you were saying that you were getting rid of grass, but kind of you're doing a grass exchange, aren't you?
Well, true. I almost did a real grass exchange. This fountain grass here, this is Pennisetum mowdrey. It's a beautiful grass. In the fall, it's a real late bloomer, and it gets a real dark brown, almost a chocolate brown inflorescence on it. And what I didn't realize when I put it in was it's a terribly prolific reseeder.
Oh.
And this spring, I came out here and I almost had a whole lawn again from this plant.
You gotta be careful.
this fall, when it's done its thing, I'm going to cut those off. I'm not going to let them reseed because it took me forever to get rid of them all.
So yeah, those ones that are prolific reseeders, you just have to deadhead quickly, don't you?
Yes, definitely.
Oh, this is beautiful. Now you've got a lot of structures in here. Have you built all these yourself?
Yes, I've built them all out of just used lumber that I pick up here and there. I'm kind of a scavenger. I've added some artistic touches. I built this little spider web out of copper wire that I found, and just little things like that I really enjoy doing. Just kind of, I don't know, it just dresses the place up.
So, now, oh, this is nice here. Kind of a shadier area back in the back.
I almost have a little bit too much exposure here, though. Later in the summer, a lot of these hostas will scorch. And you can't really see it from here, but I have a canna in the back called striata. And I'll show it to you when we get around the other side, but it's a white variegated canna. And it scorches so easy that you almost have to grow it in total shade.
Wow.
The downfall of that is that you're not going to get the flowers. But I really planted it for the foliage anyways, and I've moved it 3 or 4 times, and I finally found a place where it almost looks good all the time.
Great. So, now this really pretty back here. This really is a room that you have created.
Yeah, this is pretty much the living room here. It's a real nice place. In the summer, it gets so hot, and then I built this structure here, and I made the roof so steep on it that it almost looked like a chapel, so we named it the chapel. And when we refer to this area here, my wife said the chapel. She calls it the chapel all the time, and it's just a place to get out of the sun, and we do some entertaining back here. We've got a little chimenea, and it's a pretty comfortable place to be, actually.
This is pretty. Now, in this area, you haven't used as many plantings, but you have brought some green in here. I noticed you've got quite a few potted plants in this area.
Yes, I wanted a little bit of color here, but my main goal here was to recreate a small forested area. I grew up in upstate New York, where we had miles and miles of trees. And that's one thing I really missed about it, was the trees. And so I guess I just tried to recreate a little bit of my home right here in my backyard, and it's been pretty good. It kind of makes me feel like I'm at home sometimes.
Oh, this is a nice area. I also like the way that you've got a little bit of a patio area here, but for the most part, your surface here is a mulch, isn't it?
Right, it's just a pine bark mulch.
And this is really pretty. And we've got another nice structure here for vines. And let's see, this is good. You just use chicken wire to let the vine crawl
Yes,
on?
I just wrapped it around there and stapled it on, and it's a natural. The vines will just climb right up it. I put the wire on all the way to the top. This vine actually was a volunteer over on the west side. I have no idea where it came from, but I liked it. So I dug it up and I moved it over here, and it's been here ever since.
Now that's a key probably to your garden. You are moving stuff around. You don't just leave things where you put them.
Now I leave a lot of things that I have to give Mother Nature all the credit, because sometimes she'll plant things places that I never would have thought of. And by the end of the season, you're thinking, wow, that looks nice. I think I'll leave it there.
Well, great. Now here you've kind of got basically this is your lawn.
This is my backyard, my lawn. Yeah, this takes me about 5 minutes to mow.
That's great.
I don't have a whole lot of grass, but I think you need to have a certain amount of grass. And this made it kind of a more formal area here.
So, now this is pretty. You got your borders, and I noticed that for the most part, you've used a lot of curves in, back here.
Yeah.
It makes a nice flow.
I hate squares. I hate square corners. If I'll do anything, I'll put it in the curves. I won't ever use square corners. They just don't look natural to me.
So it's really beautiful. Now this border here on the edge, is just fantastic. This is beautiful. And again, it looks like for the most part you've used some low maintenance plants in here. For the most part I have.
One thing I did do though is I have soaker hoses that I covered up with bark mulch in here, and real conservative on water usage. I'll just plug the soaker hose in for a few hours, probably on an average of once a week, and it does the trick. I don't have any problem keeping everything alive.
Great. That's
This,
great.
this plant here was one of the Mother Nature put. It was a volunteer that I had grown in another part of the garden, and it's the Nicotiana, and I think it's the Langsdorffii or something like that's the name of it. And I like these pretty little green bells that are on them, and I decided I would leave it here because it was the only one that actually came back this year, and it's an interesting plant. You don't, I haven't seen it any other place.
No,
I'm
I
sure
like
some
that.
people have it, but.
Now, Brian, the other thing that I wanted the viewers to see, because we don't really notice it that much from the inside, but the fence that you've put on here really adds a lot to your garden. How did you do that?
Well, it's somewhat unique. I'm kind of a scavenger, and if I can find something that I can reuse in the garden, then I'll scavenge it and I'll try to find a use for it. And I just despise chain link fence, and so I thought I had to do something with it. Well, I found these old boards, and I used the existing rails from the chain link fence, and I used some U-bolt and bolted some 2x4s to it, and I bolted the boards on the outside of the existing fence. And then I made a template out of a piece of paneling, and I laid it out and marked all the templates and cut them off with a jigsaw. Now, before I actually got the cutting done on it, people that were driving by were looking at it like, oh my God, what's he doing now? It looked like a junkyard fence. But once they saw the finished product, they realized that there was more to it than that.
So, well, it is a very nice fence, and I like the way that you've used what was here and then added to it, and it's basically all recycled.
Right, and that's another one of those things where I don't like squares, and so I put rounded tops on it. I just think that was a good idea.
Well, it really is beautiful, and you've done just a tremendous job here.
Well, thank you.
And the thing is, this isn't your full-time job, is it?
No, it's not. I work full-time for Pioneer Telephone here in Kingfisher. I work in the purchasing department, and but this is really my passion here.
So, well, this has just been a beautiful tour. We appreciate you sharing your yard and your passion with all of our other gardeners here in the state.
It's been my pleasure. I'm glad you could make it.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.